Wow, good evening, everybody. He's right about the backstage. We're pretty nervous back there. Where would I start? Where does life start? I might say that life starts with the first life, or a baby being born. And my point being that life itself is a creative act, and that it's probably in its purest sense, it is creativity. And where I'm going to lead with this eventually in this talk is to try to tie back into the fact that I do believe that my little part, I hope, can help to save the world a bit. I don't know if it'll make the pure water or if it will, what point it will have, but I do hope that the influence that I offer to young people inspires them to carry on and do great things in the future. So one mantra that I've asked myself since I was small is the correlation between the words accept and expect. And what does that really mean? Like, what do I expect of myself? How much can I accept from the world around me? As a teacher, I'm also a teacher, I think about this every day when I look at my students. I need to accept who they are, but at some point I hope that I can give them what they need. I hope they're expecting from me what I can give to them, and every day I expect myself to do more. So I play these two words off each other in almost all my relations and in everything that I do in music or in creating this event. So that would lead me to a nice question that I like to think about daily is, why am I alive? And this is a very different question than how do I survive? I feel very fortunate in my life that I've never had to ask myself, how do I survive? But I have been able to ask myself, what keeps me alive? What keeps my fire inside? What keeps me going and motivated and inspired on a day-to-day basis? And right now I live outside of the city and in a very natural place. I am inspired by nature and the way that it grows and changes, and how I can see in my lifetime, probably not evolution, but see growth and change in my immediate environment. Being alive is a great thing. I do appreciate it, and especially in retrospect. Through my life, my excitement with high-risk sports of backcountry skiing and paragliding and kite surfing, all at some time have brought me up to narrow escapes from death. But I do have to say that I'm not really talking about my death experiences as much as, in retrospect, that I never want to forget how important day-to-day life is, because in an instant, a car, an airplane, something can happen, a sickness, an illness, that can take that away. So as I was being blown out to sea on my kiteboard, on my kite surfer, getting farther and farther away from land, I never thought about my insignificance of humanity. I was just determined that somehow I was going to get myself back to land. And I kept trying until eventually somebody showed up on a jet ski and saved me. I never would have made it back. But just last week, as I was thinking over that event, I thought, wow, that was a very close breach with the big sea, with the sharks. So I'm fortunate that risk came through. And I think that in persevering to get through life, we all have the opportunity to remember that life is special, and that our challenges are a day-to-day important part of our life. So as we make these decisions, as we ask these questions, it is us alone that can ask these questions. We have to ask these questions of ourselves. We get to observe the outside world. And are we really alone? Are we really alone when we ask these questions? Are we really alone to answer these questions? Well, in my observation, I do feel alone in my ability to think about it and see it, but I feel extremely connected to the world, as a tree with roots is to the earth and to the other trees around it. And by growing and networking and working together with people, with artists, that I work with students that I teach, with the people in the community at the farmer's market that I buy and sell cheese at. Being connected grounds me to the world in a way that makes me feel life is a creative choice that I feel very privileged to make. And nature itself is a creative thing. I will go back to that. Another mantra that I've nurtured through my life is this quest for perpetual motion. And I don't mean in a mechanical sense. I do realize that it's probably impossible to have a perpetual motion machine. But one thing that I do quest for, and I have quested for, is the mentality that allows a person to do something and want to continue doing it. We might call it inspiration, we might call it a spark or a fire or a passion or compulsion or over-compulsion. But that thing that gets you to do, gets you to practice, gets you to continue to build your skill, build your craft, be it go to a school, be it to practice every day, I think nurturing that kind of a fire or helping other people to nurture that passion is one of my responsibilities in this world. And myself and the co-founder of Spring Scream, Wade Davis, we came to Taiwan about 20 years ago and started playing music. And with our music was pretty eclectic and pretty unconventional, and at the time we were struggling to kind of find an audience that would actually enjoy the music. But what we were able to do, more than find people who liked the music, I think, is to find people that enjoyed the community that we formed. And this art and music community that we grew eventually led to us wanting to bring all these people and our extended group of friends of bands down to a beautiful place outside of the city where we could spend some time together sharing music and being inspired by each other. So this has been a 17-year process, and these are our two daughters now who are also both inspired by music. Mine's the one on this side, and his was the one on that side. Our event has grown from, as he was explaining before, the first year was 10 bands, and it's now grown to 700 bands apply for about 170 spots on stages. And our goals as organizers and promoters is to create an event that is good for families, good for communities, and I mean both the music and artist community and the community of the country and of South Taiwan, and actually an international, especially an Asian exchange of ideas and music community, and allow that to be a comfortable way for music to be part of a lifestyle. It's very much a lifestyle at our house, music. Getting out of the city, I do think is a very important thing for people to remember where we are on this big planet. And though we are surrounded by nylon webbing here and tents in our pictures up here, by being south in Kending and camping for 3 or 4 days by the sea, in the sun, in sometimes very windy or sometimes rainy conditions, you get a chance to let go of your motorcycle. You do still have cell phone reception down there, but you may not have a place to plug in your computer. So at least for a few days, you have a chance to remember or learn what it was like a long time ago to commune with people and to actually talk instead of type. Every year we re-ask ourselves the same questions as to how can we improve this event. And I was just thinking about Nathan's talk and how finding the core values of an event is something that we ask ourselves every year. And we look back to, where does music come from? How tied in is music to culture? How much is it tied into language? Are we making sure that we consider these things when we choose how to lay out the environment, how to design the flow of people through an event, how to schedule the bands, what bands to choose, who to invite? We try to never lose sight of these core values that that made the original Spring Scream what it was. It's always a challenge every year to hold on to those core values. The community that we bring down there, we're really proud of the stalls that come down and make food, and we should never forget how important good food is. As much as good music is good, you need good food to enjoy your time. Another tip, if I could bring to this whole event, is working together, walking together. It's a great way for bands, for groups to work through problems, is to actually stick together, and if that's not quite working, actually go for a walk. I'm inspired by where I live in the east of Taiwan to work and walk through my problems and organization problems. So obviously, as an event organizer for a big music festival, I am very concerned with bands. Bands are, I think, a very important thing in this world. I spend my days teaching small children in the same ways that I might speak to a band, and that I do believe that these young people are going to be the problem solvers of tomorrow, or the leaders of tomorrow. And I do challenge every parent or every neighbor or every uncle or brother who has somebody who wants to play in a band to remember that a band is not only an act of rebellion or expression or of just being loud and beating or banging on something. It's really a challenge to work with a group of people of your choosing for a duration of time, in that it touches on the elements, and I'll run through these: art, creativity, the desire to practice and improve upon a skill, the dedication to do so with a unit to almost form a family or a tighter relationship than friendship, attention to detail, to be precise with your skill and your talent, the teamwork and communication. You can never lose sight of how important knowing how to have good teamwork and negotiations and patience and listening. That's one thing that you forget as you watch a band, but a band really is a good group of listeners. They have to listen to each other, to form their community, to network with their fans, to promote themselves, to share their ideas, and to problem solve, be it technical problem solving or solving any of the problems of the aforementioned ideas, to make the deadlines, to get to a show on time. Can't believe how many bands struggle to learn how to make deadlines. To show up on time for a sound check is really a good skill of life. Being comfortable with mistakes, and I say that and you're laughing knowing that I showed up late for my sound check. Yeah, I'm still learning, yes. Being comfortable with mistakes, there we go. And being judged. Being on stage allows a person to be judged, like it or not, and it's just a fact that they will and have to accept that. These are life skills. This is an education, a higher education, and if going to university for 4 years is any parallel to a band sticking together for 4 years, it's like getting another degree in life. So I do believe that the bands are the problem solvers of tomorrow, but not just because they're on stage. There is a unique connection between the band and the fans. The fans are also the same problem solvers. I do believe that experience of being on stage is not much different than a fan experience of witnessing that. An audience can be as inspired by witnessing someone in those throes of making their music as they can doing whatever it is that they do or you do to save the world. So we try to get people out of the city to be inspired by nature, to witness it in whatever form: sitting, standing, dancing, jumping, running. And we try to share with them visions of music. And I'm so proud to have been in Taiwan for so many years. I've seen the music industry here, the local industry, evolve to the first year of only 10 bands playing cover songs, exploding now 17 years later of 700, 600 bands applying that all play unique original songs of all different styles. The mutual appreciation between the fans and the bands is really accentuated through technology. In the past, it was all tapes, and then it was CDs, and then it was MDs for 1 year, and then it was MP3s, and Now it's all on the computer, and before where you had to go to a recording studio, bands are recording music at home, wonderful music, with their own laptops. And they can communicate directly with their audiences through the Twitters, through the Facebooks, and have an interaction that makes the experience very personal. And that's pretty unique in the last 5 years, I'd say, that the interaction can be comfortable, can be distant, but can be an international experience of hearing something and communicating with the people who are making it. Because there is no replacement, there is no substitute for a live experience. Whether you go to the show or you actually speak one-on-one with the person, or even communicate through any electronic media. A live living experience there's no substitute for that. So we encourage the bands and the audience to participate 100%. Come in and let your inner child out, to be and express and to try and to share and to be motivated by the people around you. With 200 bands, give or take, playing and performing at the event means that at any given time during the festival, there are, musicians per band, about 800 or 1,000 performers, theater people on the site at any time, which means at our festival there's a unique community of an environment of people who like to share, who like to participate, and whose energy grows off each other. And I see this happening in all kinds of communities around the world. Costumes, there's nothing like a costume to make yourself feel like fresh and young again. Taking a rest, relaxing, doing it passionately. We have classical instruments, we have jazz music, we have rockabilly music, we have every type of music. We encourage all types, and we strive to get more music every year. We have pop divas that come and play. We have architecture inspired by the wonderful music. We build and design this using local craftsmen to use the techniques of the Taidong bamboo to make things that really inspire musicians and the audience to enjoy it. We've learned through the years, through the disasters, that we need to keep learning every year to make sure that things are safe. This is a collapsed stage from the wind. So I'm going to fly through these great, inspiring pictures of some of the greatest bands. Bicycles, that's for you. Musicians working together in 2 bands playing together. Huge audiences coming to appreciate the quiet, subtle sounds of a beautiful musician. Men, women, children, adults of all ages playing their hearts out. And so what I'd like to leave you with is the idea that creation is something that we were all born with. We were created from somewhere, somebody. And with that, we need to remember it every day. And so as we jump into this world, as we go falling into the water, in the ocean of creativity, whether you jump in foot first, I'd like you to remember to encourage the people around you to jump in any way that they feel comfortable. May end up on your stomach, but the first step is you have to take off. You have to leap. So encourage those around you to leap, be creative, play music, listen to music, and support music, and I thank you all.